My greetings to Team Epicon and my sincere thanks to Dr. Vitul for giving us an opportunity to be on this platform and share our views on some very few important topics. So my congratulations also for the Epicon, which is going to be there very soon. And the topic which has been allotted to me for today's discussion is tuberculosis in women unaddressed issues. So I will be taking up this topic and discussing in detail regarding few issues which are there in women pertaining to tuberculosis. So let's start with the discussion. So brief introduction about the disease. Tuberculosis, as we all know, is a contagious airborne disease. TB can have severe consequences for women, especially during their reproductive years. So, and that is the reason that we need to discuss these issues in detail. This will further generate the positive health impacts, which is good for society and overall economy of the nation. So let us briefly discuss the what is the tuberculosis burden in women. Women's health is a good indicator of economic development in the country. That means that if women are healthy, economies tend to be healthier. So, very brief data has been presented here. If we look at the census of 2008, 1 in 5 women with tuberculosis disease died. It was among the one of the top 5 killers of women among adult population aged 20 to 59 years. 4,80,000 women died from tuberculosis in 2014, and out of these 4,80,000 women, 1,40,000 women were HIV positive. So the data has been consolidated in the table, which is well visible here. This data has been taken from United Nations, the World's Women 2015, and we can see here that the mortality due to TB cases and mortality due to combination of TB and HIV women patients. So we can see that this figure was significantly high in 2018. 16 lakh of women population died due to TB cases, and out of these 16 lakh, 95,000 had TB and HIV both. So, friends, let us discuss the socio-economic factors, the gender barriers which are there in patients with tuberculosis who are, who belong to female gender also. See, the tuberculosis is considered as man-dominant disease. This factor not only delays a woman from seeking medical care, but also causes many problems in the personal and professional life. This we will be discussing little later on. Women, especially young women and girls, make up a larger population of the world's extremely poor population, and that further adds to the exposure and complication of tuberculosis. And we all agree that 2/3 of the world's illiterates are women population only. And the further contributing factors in this particular disease are poverty, low socioeconomic status, lack of education, poor healthcare access, and lack of independence also. See, if we look at the data, in many of the communities, women are not free to travel on their own and must be accompanied. And such things lead to delay in seeking care, diagnosis, and poorer prognosis. And also, there has been another study by WHO which indicates that 70% of the healthcare workers are women, making them more vulnerable to exposure to tuberculosis and its complication. If we look at the clinical diagnosis, like any other patient with diagnosis, if the patient is having cough which is more than 2 weeks or more, then tuberculosis should be ruled out. So, friends, in the next few slides, I will be discussing the clinical manifestations of tuberculosis briefly. So, the clinical manifestations include primary TB, reactivation tuberculosis, endobronchial tuberculosis, and tuberculomas. Tuberculomas can affect any part of the body. Coming to the pulmonary complications of tuberculosis, these are listed as hemoptysis, pneumothorax, bronchiectasis, extensive pulmonary destruction, progressive pulmonary primary disease with tubercular pneumonias, hilar lymphadenopathies with compressive signs, and then distant sites can also be involved, like cervical lymphadenopathy, meningitis, pericarditis, and biliary dissemination. Now, coming to one very important topic, the correlation between tuberculosis and pregnancy. If we see the clinical data, tuberculosis is a cause of overall infertility as it can affect the genitals in the form of genitourinary tuberculosis. So there has been very many studies which have confirmed that tuberculosis causes 1 to 16% of incidence of overall infertility. So that means around 20% of the infertility cases are because of underlying genital tuberculosis. Recent pregnancy is a risk factor in developing active TB in women living with HIV because pregnancy itself is a stress factor, and it leads to malnutrition, also increased stress burden on the woman. And if the patient has HIV, that makes her more predisposed to developing tuberculosis. Pregnant women with TB have increased incidence of complications during and after pregnancy. So, discussing this issue further, tuberculosis increases the risk of miscarriage, insufficient weight gain of the baby, premature labor, and then there are always chances of transmission of tuberculosis to the fetus during the pregnancy or during the birth. And then even newborns of the mothers with tuberculosis are at increased risk of death, low birth weight, and contracting tuberculosis after birth. Now, coming to breastfeeding. We all know breastfeeding is very important for a newborn baby as it not only provides nutrition but also has immunological benefits also. If we look at the AAP recommendations, expressed milk should be given to babies in mothers with pulmonary tuberculosis who are contagious, who are untreated, or if the patient has started ATT in less than 3 weeks of duration with isolation. In these category of patients, the breast milk should be expressed and given to the infant. And one very important point which I would like to emphasize here upon is, according to WHO guidelines, breastfeeding should be continued under all circumstances. Now, if we look at the combination of tuberculosis and HIV, both HIV and tuberculosis are leading cause of death among infectious disease. This we already know. Co-infection of HIV along with tuberculosis is very common globally due to compromised immunity in HIV population. Therefore, antiretroviral therapy in HIV patients should be started as early as possible to prevent the progression of tuberculosis. And all HIV patients should be closely monitored for active signs and symptoms of tuberculosis so that the further investigation and treatment can be done. Now, I will briefly discuss the MDR tuberculosis in women. MDR tuberculosis or multi-drug resistant tuberculosis mainly affects the young adults, including women of reproductive age group. Now, the treatment of MDR TB is, very, very controversial in pregnant ladies. The management options which have been delineated, include termination of the pregnancy or use of second-line anti-tubercular drugs during pregnancy, or reduction and suspension of treatment during pregnancy. So all these speculations have been given, but all pregnant women with MDR TB should be given the right to choose among these options and whether they want to continue with their pregnancy or not. So they all should be given this option. Now, coming to the treatment of tuberculosis. Actually, if we look at the treatment protocols, these are very much same as advised in any other patient, and which have been formulated for tubercular patients as per revised National TB Control Programs (RNTCP) guidelines. These hold true for women also. So there are not changes. So again, like in any other patient, we have treatment regimen for drug susceptible tuberculosis as per RNTCP. And here again we have category 1 and category 2 that we recommend in any other patient with tuberculosis. So category 1 means all new pulmonary smear positive and negative patients, or extra pulmonary tuberculosis which is affecting any other area of the body. That is category 1. Category 2 is TB patients who have had more than 1 month of anti-tubercular treatment previously, and if the patient has a relapse, failure, treatment after default, like all these patients, they fall into category 2. So basically, category 1 is treatment naive patients, and category 2 is defaulters or failures. So here, as we already know, the standard protocol is applied. Category 1, RHEZ based regime is given for 2 months and then followed by 4 months of the continuation phase, initiation phase and continuation phase. Even category 2 also, we have 2 months of initial treatment, which is streptomycin based treatment, and RHEZ is a part of the treatment, and then this is followed by 1 month of RHEZ and then 5 months of RHE. So this is the category 2. This treatment anyway we are following in our DOT centers also under the RMDCP program. So this holds true for women patients with tuberculosis also. So this table shows a treatment regimen for drug-resistant tuberculosis as per RMDCP. So basically, it depends whether the patient has rifampicin resistance or INH resistance, sensitive or unknown, or if the patient has proven MDR-TB, that means that the patient has resistance to rifampicin and isoniazid as well. So that forms the definition of multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. So let us talk about rifampicin resistance plus INH sensitive, or we don't know about the INH resistant. So here we have initiation phase and continuation phase. The patient takes 6 to 9 months of kanamycin, levofloxacin, and ethionamide, then cycloserine and pyrazinamide, ethambutol, and INH, followed by continuation, which means that 18 months of ethionamide, cycloserine, ethambutol, and INH. So this constitutes a regimen for rifampicin resistant patients. And if the patient has MDR tuberculosis, then the treatment regimen for initiation phase will be 6 to 9 months of kanamycin, levofloxacin, ethionamide, cycloserine, and pyrazinamide and ethambutol. And then followed by 18 weeks of levofloxacin, ethionamide, and cycloserine and ethambutol. Here, one important point is like the dose of INH can be varied depending upon the low resistant INH patients and high level of INH resistance. So in those patients, we can alter the dose of INH. Now coming to the social and family issues which are associated with tuberculosis and women. See, this article was there in one of the leading magazine in India, and there was an article, 1 lakh women in India were rejected by their families because they had tuberculosis. So this article was published recently. So that forms the magnanimity of this disease. So we all know that tuberculosis is considered as man's disease, and the stigma and fear attached to the disease is responsible for its greater impact on women as compared to men. As tubercular patients, women have to face many concerns due to discredited status given by the society. There are reduced chances of marriage, or maybe there are chances of no marriage at all. Married women can face the risk of rejection by the husband, harassment, and even divorce. So basically, all these social issues leaves not only delay in seeking medical care, but also significant effect on treatment adherence in women, leading to more and more cases of default and treatment failure, or even multi-drug resistant patients also. There was a study which was done by Rajeshwari et al., and it was found that even this held true for rural and urban female patients. They face rejection by their families in 15% of the cases. Tuberculosis may lead to infertility, this we have already seen. Then there can be menstrual disorders and even cases of chronic pains in females in reproductive age group. Now, if you look at the perinatal deaths, there is 6-fold increase in perinatal deaths and 2-fold increased risk of premature birth and low birth weights in mothers with tuberculosis. Then, as we already know, that strong association between HIV and TB. So, Presence of tuberculosis in HIV positive patients increases maternal and infant mortality rates by 300%. So that is a huge figure actually. The delay in seeking medical care and poor adherence to treatment in women affects not only women's health physically but also mentally, and the further effects on the family and society. Increased risk of spread of disease from mother to child in their growing period, and child may have to leave the school to take care of the mother, and if the father is earner, or that leads to poor child health also, and increased absenteeism of the child also from the school. And also tuberculosis in women, there was a study which revealed that because of high mortality of tuberculosis patients in women, it leads to more and more number of deaths because of this cause. So all these factors lead to deprived families and social and economic development of the societies. And also TB can affect workplaces adversely in various ways, like low productivity, absenteeism, high medical cost, where females constitute the major working force. So what can be done in this regard? We need to, the women empowerment is the key. That we need to change the current scenario of tuberculosis in women. Education and gender equity is its main element. Excuse me. Development programs should be focused on these aspects to ensure the women empowerment. So this paper was released by WHO organization in 2009, and the main emphasis was TB and women. This particular program was called Stop TB Partnership, and here the major emphasis was laid that women can play a critical role in TB care and control as educators, as organizers, and as providers. And it was fully funded and it was implemented also. And under this particular program, 14 million lives, it was estimated that 14 million lives will be saved and 50 million patients will be treated under this program. And actually, if we look at this WHO Stop TB Partnership, basic idea was to collaborate the tuberculosis programs with antenatal programs and maternal and child health care programs. So basically, we need to, the commit, collaborate, and integrate. Mobilization of the support at global and national levels to ensure gender equitable access to all the facilities from diagnosis to treatment, counseling, prevention, and supportive care. And then there should be a collaboration of national tuberculosis programs with maternal and child health care programs to ensure adequate screening, early diagnosis, and treatment adherence in female patients. So, another important issue is improvement in data collection and monitoring system. Under notification of female patient again is a major issue. So that is another point which we need to take care of, and that is why this program has to be collaborated with the RNTCP program. Then social and cultural factor accounts for leading cause in under notification of female cases. And then the TB data collection on the basis of sex and age is required. And then integrated patient monitoring system for TB and HIV. Even there have been some collaborations where the tuberculosis and HIV programs are collaborated, especially with antenatal care programs to have early screening. Then gender equitable and early accessibility of advanced diagnostic techniques like GeneXpert, MTB, and RIF. These should be made available at the level of antenatal care centers only. The use of expert MTB as initial step for diagnosis should be scaled up, especially for patients with HIV and women suspected of MDR tuberculosis at antenatal care level. There should be more and more research projects for the development of new diagnostic techniques and also new drugs taking into the consideration and specific needs of women, like in pregnancy and breastfeeding. We need to have more and more medicines which are which are given safely during pregnancy and during breastfeeding. So this area also needs to be addressed upon. So these are our views regarding the unaddressed issues in women with tuberculosis, and a lot of work needs to be done, and hoping for a better future for them, I mean, from our healthcare professionals. Thank you.